Hi, I'm Patrick from Air Inspect Australia. Welcome back to our next video and to see if we can create a 3D model using an Air 3. Today we'll capture the roof and partial wall. We'll process this data together and learn if it actually works. We'll be using some basic photogrammetry techniques to capture this data. In the last video, I went through the setup on the controller for the camera. Today we'll use that and capture the data with the camera in order to process it. So the first thing you'll do is do a pre-flight check of your drone. You'll get it ready to take off, and just go through a checklist to ensure the drone's safety. Start the drone, start the controller. Again, just check for any updates that may have occurred overnight, and if there are any, to update your controller and your drone. Once you are satisfied with the settings that you've made previously, it's always a good idea just to check to make sure nothing has changed, then you're good to go. Once you've got an address for the site to inspect, it's always a good idea to go into Google Maps and have a look just to make sure that you can clearly see the roof that you're inspecting, just to ensure that there aren't any surprises when you get to site. Oftentimes there are trees that have overgrown onto the roof that you need to stay clear of. It's always good to identify these hazards before you get to site, and you can anticipate any large air conditioning units as well. Okay, so here we go. Once we're at site and you're happy with the camera setup and the drone setup, then it's time to take off. And the first thing we want to do is when you take off is to have a quick look at the roof. And in this case, I know that it's clear, there's no trees around. The first thing I'll do is, I'll ensure it's in C mode, so we change it here to C mode. One of the reasons why I used all three selections for the grid is so that I can get the single point in the middle. I'll use that to establish the height of the building. So you can see here, I'm just bringing it in and bring it down a bit, and you can see that it's about 8.5 meters, so it shows 8.8 meters here. You can see that in the bottom left hand corner there next to the map there. So it's about 8.8 meters high at the top part of the roof, and when I fly the mission, I want to fly about 4 or 5 meters above that, so I'll take it to about 14 meters. 14 meters. And then using the toggle on the right hand side, you'll bring the camera down to 90 degrees, so it's facing straight down. We call this nadir, so it's facing nadir. And now what I'll do is I'll bring the drone to the top here. It was quite a breezy day, and the downside to using the Air 3 is that it is such a small drone. It does get tossed around a bit in the air. So one of the advantages of having the timed interval shots is you don't have to worry about always hitting the shutter button. All you need to do is just to concentrate and keeping the shot in frame. So you'll see here as the countdown is there for each shot, I'm trying to keep the point of the screen on top of the roof line there. I'm not having much luck. It was quite breezy. Also, when you have it in cine mode, the stick inputs to the drones, there's a bit of a delay. So when you push forward or pull back, the drone doesn't respond right away. So you need to keep that in mind. So it's just subtle movements of the stick, and keep in mind that there is a bit of a time delay for the drone to react to your inputs. So what I'm doing here is just going along the roof and then doing just a pattern. So we just go from one end to the other, and you can see the thirds of the screen there. And what you want to have is, if you pick a point, and as you go along, you want to see that point gets captured at a minimum about 4 times. And that way it'll ensure that when you take one shot, the overlap, the next overlap, etc. So when it overlaps, it can pick up points from the previous shot and do that continuously across. And when you get to the end of the building, you want to make sure you've got 2/3 past the building and that last 1/3 in the shot. And you can see here as I'm going along, capturing the top third of the shot now was in the bottom third of the previous shot. The drone is moving around quite a bit because of the wind. And this is just going to give Sunny a bit of a challenge when he processes the photos. So we come across to the other end of the building now, and I will endeavor to leave 2/3 past the building and 1/3 of the roof there. So we'll continue this. Unfortunately, I don't have a flat roof here. It is about 3 different elevations and angles, but you can, this is just some basic photogrammetry techniques here, and we can go further later on in terms of trying to capture all the details in building the model. But again, you can see the wind is pushing it around a bit, and I would probably go back on some of these lines to make sure that I've got the overlap that I'm wanting. You can see how I'm using the grids there to keep that top third in line of the roof. So one roof line to the next line, I want to keep it there, but I am being pushed around quite a bit here with the drone, with the wind. So again, we'll come to the edge of this roof line. And again, the center of the drone is where the actual drone is, as you see that where the countdown is. So I am coming to the edge of the property boundary here, and I will make one last run. You can see the overflow, the overspill. I am capturing the roof of my neighbor's property here. In post editing, we can delete that so it doesn't appear in the final model, and it will just have the roof itself and nothing else. So again, I'm trying to keep the last run there, the bottom of the roof line in the top 1/3, and it does come out of an angle here. And I'm getting sufficient overlap to produce this model, so I'm happy with this right now. So we've done half the roof with the zigzag pattern, and now what we'll do is we'll go to the other side and do the same process on the other half there. Just capturing that last part of the roof line, the side and the bottom there. And now we'll bring the drone to the front of the building and start again from the top and work our way back. Okay, so now started back on the other side of the building, and again, same process, just lining it up at the top of the house here and doing zigzag patterns. It's always better to overshoot than to undershoot. It's a fine balance, but you'll get there as you practice this. Last thing you want to do is undershoot, and when you process, you can see that there's either some holes or it didn't quite stitch together properly, and then you'll reflect on what happened there, and you'll think, oh yeah, I should have done this. So it's always a good idea to have more photos than you think you need. Obviously there is a balance. You don't want to have 10,000 photos for a roof like this, but a couple of hundred is not an issue. So in the lower left hand corner there, you see the map. The H is the home point. That's where the drone will go back to should it need to return to home. The arrow is or delta is the actual direction the drone is facing, and the circle is where the controller is. Next to that you have 14M. That's the height, and you can see the 0.0 meters per second, so you're not going up and down. When you go up and down, that will change that value. you see 18 and then next to that is 0.1 ms, so that's 0.1 meters per second. That's the speed you're traveling. So now that we've captured the roof, what I'm going to do here is use some fundamental photogrammetry principles to capture the wall. So what I'm doing here now on the right hand side there, you can see I've changed the angle to 75 degrees. So the camera is at 75-degree pitch. I'm going to bring the drone down a meter or two and then bring it back. And with this particular wall, it's a pitched roof. So it's going to make it a bit tricky because it's pitched and also because of the wind. But what I want to do is have the top third at least, the roof in the photo, because the nadir shot is now going to stitch into the 75-degree angle shot. And any changes you make with the camera, it shouldn't be anything more than 15 degrees. If it's greater than 15 degrees, most photogrammetry programs won't be able to stitch it together, so you will get black holes. So the idea here is to do 90 degrees nadir shot, then tie it in with a 75-degree angle flight, and the next flight pass we'll do here will be at 65 and then at 45. And again, each time we change the angle, we drop a meter or two and pull back to get the roof and the wall in the frame. However, bearing in mind, it's not always possible to do that because most buildings will be abutted to another building or property. So if you can't do that, then you need to improvise and not take the drone back further, but still try to drop each pass at 15 degrees. If you can do one at 75, then you just need to lower the drone without pulling back at 60 and do the same at 45. Just trying to keep in mind the overlap. So after each pass, you want to make sure that what was bottom of the frame is now either middle or top, especially if this wall is not terribly tall, so it doesn't matter. But if you've got a building that you're doing, a warehouse that could be 20, 30, 40 meters tall, you want to be able to tie in back to the roof. If you can't, then you need to keep that in mind as you drop the drone without pulling back. And another technique we use is actually walking the drone. So you get the bottom of the wall tied in with the rest of the building. If you don't do that, what happens is that the wall tends to marshmallow. So keep that in mind, and you'll see this, you'll experience this as you go along your journey in doing this. But this is always a good way to start off with the 90-degree nadir shot, followed by the 75 degrees, 60 degrees, and 45 degrees. Well, that's all for the steps to do some basic photogrammetry and to capture a roof and tie it into a wall. I hope that was of benefit to you, and if you have any comments, please list them below. Otherwise, like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video where I pass this data now off to Sunny, and he will weave his magic and create a beautiful 3D model for us. Thank you. Oh, thanks for watching.